Good evening, everyone from San Francisco Worldwide. I am Patrick Lew Hayashi from Patrick Lew Band and Crazy News in a Box, actually. This is a vlog for my YouTube channel for Patrick Lew Band, aka PLB. And the topic is why the Patrick Lew Band doesn't go out our way and tour much and play live shows outside as much as other local bands, not mainstream bands, or anything like that. It's a very complicated subject matter, but I'll try to break it down as much as I possibly can. Why my band or solo project PLB doesn't tour much or play live much, so to speak. I'm going to start with the first one, actually. For one, PLB is predominantly my band. I'm the driving force behind Patrick Lew Band, and the only constant member, soul singer-songwriter slash guitarist, and band leader in Patrick Lew Band since the year 2001, locally and worldwide, actually. And what I do in Patrick Lew Band is I do fucking everything in the band, actually. All the music entrepreneurship, creating the music, putting it out there, and marketing it on the internet and World Wide Web. I do everything, basically, in Patrick Lew Band, and to do a tour or play more shows or book more shows, it requires a lot of planning on my part and on my end, and a lot of financial risks, so to speak, because when I do Patrick Lew Band live, I expect to bring some merch to Patrick Lew Band shows, and creating all the merch does cost money itself, and it's quite an investment, because, if I make all this merch, it doesn't sell, I'm left with 3 or 4 filled boxes of PLB memorabilia and merchandise in this bedroom where I create Patrick Lew Band music. Okay, guys, I make all of Patrick Lew Band's music from 2013 onward in this very room, and it has spread worldwide to 34 countries on Apple Music with various listeners around the world on their smartphones and stuff like that. And when I take my band on the road, or PLB on the road, it requires a lot of work on my end and a lot of pressure on my end as well. And when I do everything myself, such as contacting promoters to book the shows, talking to music business people on the internet through email and Facebook private messages, and etc., where I'm on this computer, on my 24 MacBook Air, on my iPhone X, it's a lot of work involved, actually, and building it from scratch and having to tour on my own is very, very hard. It's doable, but it's also a lot of work, a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility, and a lot of other factors and risks on my end. So that's one reason why it's to take off a lot of workload with Patrick Lew Band. I decide, in order to tour as a musician or traveling artist worldwide, or even locally here in the San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California, in the United States, I would have to work with another band, for example. Like, I was a member of the band Diverse for about 4 years, and it was quite easier to book shows with them because, like, I was working with my former bandmate at the time, and we could talk it out and arrange things with private conversations on how to do it, without having all the pressure to fall on me to do all the works. And when I did Benign Neglect with Ahmed, not too long ago, before Patrick Lew Band came back on St. Patrick's Day 2020, it was easier that way for me and my boy to talk about how to book this show and how to go about things, pretty much, in the music industry and the music scene as independent contractors in music, pretty much. So when I do shows, I prefer to do it with another band rather than as a solo artist, because here's number 2. Patrick Lew Band was always a very derelict, dysfunctional kind of local Bay Area punk rock band before 2015. We had so many lineup changes, so much band drama, and a lot of complicated things that went on that prevented PLB from touring as a full-scale band. If you saw my YouTube channel, like, earlier in the 2010s, let's say 2010 or 2011, there was me and my former bandmate at the time, who I met from college. Well, he's gone now, of course, but we would often debate and basically have arguments on how to take this band on stage. He was basically uninterested in pursuing a secular career in the music business because he's very religious, so to speak. Not trying to knock religion down or anything like that. So what we did was we were like one of the early pioneers of live streaming at the time. So what we did was we live streamed on my computer or my digital camera at the time performances we did at my house in Antioch at the time, or other various locations in Antioch, California, and Brentwood, California area at the time, and then put it on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever on the internet, and that's how people were able to catch us live. And at the time, there was like a lot of debate and dysfunction and a lot of complications within Patrick Lew Band at the time. So my former bandmate wanted rather prefer to do covers of top 40 songs, while I wanted to prefer to play on my originals. And there was always a clash between what to play, so I just took a backseat and just say, hey, let's do the covers. I'll be on bass guitar and he'll be on guitar and vocals, and alternate from there, so to speak. And that didn't really work out, and Patrick Lew Band, based on his very checkered past, basically imploded in the year 2012 towards the end, around the autumn and stuff like that. So that's one reason why Patrick Lew Band never toured as a full-time band live on stage with a full lineup at the time, because of these complicated situations from the past. So when I went up my way to play Patrick Lew Band live as a solo artist when we came back in the year 2015, my boy David was already limited at the time, and he wouldn't really want to do it for his own reasons, which I can respect, and he had other things going on for him. So I decided to take Patrick Lew Band as an onstage act, as a solo artist. But thankfully, with the advancements of music technology rapidly available at the time, I was able to use backing tracks, pre-recorded backing tracks on this MacBook Air, or that old MacBook Air I had in my bedroom, and perform it with a guitar and mic and stuff like that. But even then, it was not the same experience, and even booking those shows proved to be a very hard fall on my end, because I just didn't like doing it as a solo artist. I was very stiff on stage, and I'm very stiff as a on-stage performer, as a solo artist and stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, despite my so-called prolific certifications in indie music, so to speak. So what happened was, I'm not used to performing by myself on stage, really. We already established that just a few moments ago, but I could not really do it. I had to remember all the lyrics, I had to play all the guitar parts by memory, I had to play guitar and sing at the same time. I had to practice maybe like 3 hours the day before the gig when I had free time on my hands, apart from my day job where I work at for 5 days a week, laboring to make a living and pay my bills. So it goes back to the part where I said a lot of pressure falls on me to make it a really good show, and it was a lot of pressure. Like I said earlier, moments and minutes ago, even I rather do it with a live band situation. It doesn't have to be like 2 members or more on stage doing the show and stuff like that. Which brings me to number 3, why Patrick Lew Band doesn't tour much, basically, aside from the occasional live shows regionally in the San Francisco Bay Area. Touring requires a lot of financial risk, so to speak, and some people can do it just fine on their own, and I respect that. But for me personally, it's very difficult, because I'm a very fiscally conservative kind of person and socially liberal, so to speak, in terms of my political views and economical views on society. And I come from a very strong Asian mindset where money does matter over this thing, and you don't want to put your money investing towards something that would basically make it go haywire or go wrong. Where did it all go wrong in the end, long run? So there was a time when I did Patrick Lew Band shows, maybe at one booked venue in the past. I don't remember when. It's not on the performance clip is not on YouTube, and I usually upload recap videos of my live performances on YouTube. It was probably sometime in the late 2000s or early 2010s when I called a promoter up, booked a show to play with Patrick Lew Band. This is the days before smartphones and all this whole digital technology that we have now these days. So there's no video of it, unfortunately, online. No one even bothered to film it, actually give it to me at the end. But there's even no pictures of it. But I booked a show maybe sometime around the late 2000s as a solo artist with Patrick Lew Band, and God, it was a pain in the ass, man, because I put myself into maybe a few $100s in debt at the time to do that show, because I wasn't drawing the same amount of crowds, all this kind of stuff, all this other complicated economical situations related to the music business. And I remember coming home the day after, and like I was keeping in mind when I was doing before I graduated college in 2011, my only job was music pretty much. I didn't have a standard day job besides that really. All my work was in career when I was in college before I even landed a full-time traditional paying job, so to speak, was Patrick Lew Band. So I didn't have the $300 to pay the debt, so I called my mom up, and she threw a fit. No matter how much of a mama's boy I really am, she threw a fit when we had to pay the debt for that whole show altogether, and it was not a fun experience looking back. So keep in mind that if I was booked in other venues outside of California, and I would have to travel on my own to get there through a tour van, that would include renting the car, getting the merch, getting the lodging, the food, all this kind of stuff. And long story short, if I'm not sponsored, and I'm not basically if there's no middleman involved that would pay me to do these shows, to go out of my way out of work. Keep in mind, I have a day job right now that is very lenient about me touring and doing my music career as a side hustle, so to speak. Even though I'm not making much money doing it, but I'm still doing it because it's a side hustle and I make passive income doing music through Patrick Lew Band and vice versa. But if I'm not sponsored to go do a tour in a different state or West Coast, East Coast, or nationwide, or even in a different country, like for example, United Kingdom, where Patrick Lew Band has its third largest demographic, so to speak, which I never actually stepped foot in United Kingdom, that will require a lot of things out of my pocket, and it's not a feasible option for me because I'm a very fiscally conservative kind of person. I don't want to take huge financial risks where the payback is not, or the payout is not up to par at the end, so to speak, and it's not worth it, so to speak. It's not really worth it at the end because I'll be bringing my merch and whatever sells, but it's only going to go towards maybe food later on after the show and maybe a plane ticket back home, whatever I have left in my bank account. And it will cost me like at least a few $1,000s to do those kind of shows outside the United States. And I had to ship my gear there. I had to talk to the booking agents, all this other complicated music business related stuff in terms of live performances and stuff like that, and the various aspects surrounding it. So it's not a feasible option for me as a fiscally conservative kind of individual because I care about how much money I have in my bank account. I was raised as an Asian American male not to go overboard with my spending, unlike some people, no names given. So that's another reason why I don't do Patrick Lew Band tours and stuff like that outside the United States or in different states outside or different regions outside Northern California. Maybe once is good, but if it happens too much, then I don't want to do it unless I'm sponsored or a middleman's involved to give me the benefits, so to speak, like the travel benefits and all this kind of stuff, so I could go out my way to do these kind of things and call my boss up my day job, say, hey, I got a tour coming on. I need these specific days off of my day job to go on tour with my band or my solo project as a musician and artist worldwide. So another reason is going to be number 5. I forgot which one, but oh, wow. Also, there's a thing about me and age-related reasons, basically. I'm already 35 years old. Yes, I'm quite possibly, the best stage of my indie music career right now, so to speak, with Patrick Lew Band since we came back on St. Patrick's Day 2020 earlier this year. But I'm already 35 years old, going on 36. It's like, how many times can I go on the road and how much would it pay off, really, And there was a time in my life in the later 2000s or the late 2000s that I was able to record and write in the studio 60 songs per year with the band or on my own. Now I can't even do that anymore, really, with PLB or any other band, because once you get older, you kind of slow down a little bit, It's not just like, you got to take it easy on yourself, Pat. You got to take it easy on yourself. So I always had this idea and philosophy that less shows is more, Less is definitely more, because like if I played like 5 nights per week, it would be a strain on my body. And I always compare playing rock and roll music to combat sports like professional wrestling. It can be physically draining in the end, really, to play 5 shows back to back in one whole week. So if I play 2 days in San Francisco today and tomorrow, then the next night I have to go to Oakland then the next night Berkeley, then the next night maybe San Jose, Silicon Valley. It's not worth it. It's gonna take a grind on my body. And like the quote from I heard from the movie The Last Waltz starring the band, the road can kill you. And I kind of figured that as I got older, I gotta take it easy on myself, because like I didn't really mention this like on my page or on my band page or something, but I did legitimately injure my shoulder when on Benign Neglect's performance at DNA Lounge on December 15th of 2019. The whole video is on YouTube, by the way. The whole video is on YouTube and shared and has leaked worldwide since then on the internet and stuff like that. Our show we did at DNA Lounge with me and Ahmed, and the record's actually released on Apple Music as well. I had a fun time playing the show, but at the end, my shoulder started feeling very sore and cramped up. It was a very painful experience, actually. I had to be put on more or less physically demanding tasks in my day job for the next 2 or 3 days until my shoulder gradually healed on its own. So that's one of the reasons why I don't really like to do the back-to-back tours and stuff like that, shows back-to-back every night, you know, because I always give my best performances when I do less shows than more shows, because if I could do 2 shows in 1 month, that's good enough for me already, you know, like 2 shows in 1 month, that's perfectly fine, because I could give out my best performances on stage. But if I do like 5 shows back to back, it's not always gonna be the best performance possible. We're not robots, man. We're only human beings, really, and we cannot duplicate everything flawlessly every show. And there's always gonna be about to be fuck ups and botches here and there, like you do in wrestling, you know. Rock and roll is like combat sports, and like you gotta be very careful, and you have to really be on top of everything to do this back to back. And I come to realize I could make other forms of revenue and recognition outside of live performances and touring with Patrick Lew Band, you know. And I've credentialed to show it on the internet if you go to my IMDb profile online, you know. But that just scratches the bottom of things why I don't tour much with Patrick Lew Band. So I know some bands could do it on their own without much problems, but I'm not one of those guys. I don't expect myself to be like them. So I'm my own man, they're their own band. So everyone has different kinds of ways of making it in the independent music scene, and this whole complicated cutthroat industry, basically. I mean, if you're a band that likes to go on the road, touring in a band at 21 with 3 other sweaty dudes or women or whatever, that's fine, but there's other ways to break it in music without having to like tour and play shows all the time. And I come to realize that coming with COVID-19, because live streaming, more records in the studio, other ways of getting the music out there and making a profitable pop out of it, really, you know. So there's that. Until then, I'm Patrick Lew Hayashi. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the like button below this video. I'm Patrick Lew Hayashi from Patrick Lew Band and Crazy Lyrics in the Box. I just want to tell you why, give you a heads up why Patrick Lew Band doesn't tour much. And it's unfortunate for me to talk about, but maybe hopefully this will make sense for you guys who are into my music, because I still have the 34 listeners worldwide, or 34 countries worldwide that listens to my music occasionally on certain intervals on Apple Music since 2015 based on statistics. So check out my music, guys, and Patrick Lew Band. I'll catch you guys all on the flip side. I'm Patrick Lew Hayashi, signing off. Sayonara. Oyasumi.